This is Titus Frost, spitting truth, causing glitches in the Matrix.
I ain't a killer, but I murder the mainstream. Murder the mainstream. I ain't a killer, but I murder the mainstream. Murder the mainstream. Now this may be irrelevant to you, but even the most intelligent of Jews will address the elephant that's in the room. Cause how much can a pelican consume? See, a Jew isn't a Zionist, but a Zionist could be a Jew. You see, they like to fuse the ideas of the two to confuse you and the minds of the Jews, so they fight for these ghouls. You should know by now I'm talking about the Rothschilds, and they're using Israel as a Rottweiler. These killers are cold, man, like some crocodile blood. They don't really give a damn or a fuck about us. Look at the guys that strip, they popping clips, taking shots at kids, dropping bombs and shit on a populace with rocks and sticks. They locked in a grid looking like a Nazi pit. From Al-Qaeda to ISIS, who you think's creating them, training them and paying them? You better check the nation that you stationed in, who sees making favors and see who donates to them. It's a big game, ain't it? Matter of fact, it's a big shame, ain't it? It's a situation they don't want to have to play with, even when a kid is getting decapitated. Peace to Syria, the Middle East, American bloodbath has reached hysteria. We reached the barrier, we must act while the freedom of speech is still hearing us, and the media just keeps burying up facts. Over and over again, we've seen it before and we heard it's the same thing. That's why I say fuck this system, and let's murder the mainstream.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Titus Frost YouTube channel. And in this video here today, I'm going to be bringing someone back from the dead just to bury him again. And why? Is because he's crossed the thin red line with me by using censorship tactics to take down criticism of him from the internet. Now, I will, unite with anyone over Pizzagate who is legitimate and willing to spread awareness about that. But someone that is going to use censorship to flag and censor someone and lock someone like New World Agenda out of his account just for criticizing David Seaman is where I draw the line. So, if you haven't heard, New World Agenda's channel has received so many flags for guideline strikes by David Seaman that he is no longer allowed to upload videos. And that is absolutely ridiculous. New World Agenda has done a lot of good work exposing the powers that shouldn't be, doing a lot more research and doing a lot more work than David Seaman ever has on that subject.
Unfortunately, I do not want to be making this video right now because I want to be uniting as many people as possible behind Pizzagate for this demonstration. And I promised not to attack certain individuals who are dead to me because of this demonstration and trying to raise awareness of this. I had put my attacks on a certain individual on hold. However, due to actions by that individual, this has dragged me back into the fray, even though I don't want to be doing this, because I'd rather just be exposing the powers that shouldn't be, not peons like David Seaman. However, when you resort to censorship and lying, that is when I come back into the fray, dig him out of the grave I buried him in, and bury him back in it. So Seaman Stain here is claiming that all of the attacks on him by other YouTubers such as New World Agenda and myself and Really Graceful and Call for an Uprising, etc., 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 that we are all just YouTube trolls paid for by David Brock, and that he is some sort of victim, which is his classic symptom, isn't it? That he's always the victim in these things. Now he has his little team of people going around flagging down videos that are critical of him for no reason whatsoever. But I believe he's been using copyright rules on YouTube to get videos pulled and flagged down. And he has done this so many times to New World Agenda's channel that he has censored that channel off the internet for the time being, forcing him to move to his backup channel. So at this point, I'm going to warn David Seaman. If you think you're going to censor the information about you off of the internet, I would suggest you take a look at past people who have tried to do the exact same thing. And in case A, I would like to highlight Tom Cruise's attempt to censor the Scientology information in his Scientology speech from the internet, and just remind you of exactly what that resulted in. So when the Scientologists, who had a lot more assets at their disposal, tried to remove all the videos and things critical of Scientology, especially that video of Tom Cruise, What ended up resulting was that video being copied and re-uploaded by thousands of people across YouTube and the internet, and now it's extremely easy to find. So at this point, anyone actually interested in protecting freedom of speech should be either criticizing David Seaman, as I am doing in this video, or they should be downloading and re-uploading the videos that are critical of him that have been striked off of YouTube. So all of the videos that were taken off of New World Agenda's channel, you should go to his new channel, Free Radio Revolution Classics. And New World Agenda also has two other channels, Supreme Lord Commander and Free Radio Revolution Uncensored. And I would suggest that you go and you subscribe to those channels. I still have to subscribe to two of them. But basically, we shouldn't allow David Seaman's little team of people to go around flagging anything critical of him from the internet. If he's going to do that, we should support the people that he's trying to censor. I will absolutely not allow this individual to try to censor information from the internet. He has absolutely no right to censor any of the information that was presented about him online. Every one of the critiques of David Seaman, as far as I can see, were 100% valid, and he's never responded to any of them in any sort of legitimate way, shape, or form. You cannot censor the internet. I will not allow you to do it. I will attack the living shit out of you if you think you're going to censor information off the internet because that information is damning about you. So normally I would take clips from this individual's channel, things that he's actually said, play them in this part, and then refute them. However, because David Seaman's team has been going around censoring people's videos and flagging them for copyright, anyone that uses any clips of his at all, I'm not going to use any clips of him. I'm just going to tell you his claims, and then I'm going to utterly refute them. And I'm not going to use any video, images, or anything of this complete douchebag while I do this, so that he has absolutely no way to censor me. Because the worst thing about censorship is, you'll never know. So why did I expose David Seaman? To all you people claiming I'm dividing and conquering the Pizzagate community, which is exactly the opposite of what I'm doing and exactly what David Seaman is doing. He's causing the conquer and divide tactic to be employed against all of us because he's, feeding into this controversy by going around and trying to censor people. So here's my explanation for this. I was fine with David Seaman making money. I don't care if he makes $1 million or 2 cents. It's not my business. That's not why he was exposed. One of the other YouTubers who partook in the NWA hangout said it best. My main thing is the fake drama to scare people from looking into Pizzagate and scare people into talking about him. People are generally concerned for David, and he's laughing it up. He took down his own videos and we were merely analyzing the things he said. Now he's claiming victim status once again, which dissuades the average person from looking into these things and doing their own research for fear of repercussions against themselves. I've always tried to tell people to verify what I say and to join the research community. I never fake anything I put out to make myself a part of the story, as David has. David has lied so many times about information regarding Pizzagate to get more views, it is unbelievable. The constant claims of arrests are imminent within 24 hours, and other clickbait bullshit he has done with zero proof. Then the next day he will come out and try to claim some completely unrelated arrest to Pizzagate just to validate the things he said the day before. Lastly, and most importantly, the connections between Zionist pedosadists in this ring are 100% clear via Steven Feinberg of DynCorp, who I exposed 100% in part 3 of my documentary. I also exposed the Zionist connections to rampant systemic pedophilia, something Seaman won't address because he is a Zionist. And that has nothing to do with Judaism. And I am 100% not an anti-Semite. Now, criticizing Zionism, which is a political movement, has nothing to do with anti-Semitism. And anyone claiming it does is participating in slander. You don't understand the criticisms that we are making of you, obviously. So you see Seaman keeps saying, oh, just wait, any day Trump will make arrests, just leading people on to think the government is going to do anything about this when they clearly are not. They've not even investigated the scandal, as far as I know. The only thing that is a saving grace, and Seaman would have absolutely no idea if this was going on, because it's done in secret, is grand juries. So if he's claiming to have knowledge of a grand jury going on, he is lying. If he is claiming that he has some insider source feeding him information and he doesn't provide any evidence of this, he is lying. In fact, every time David Seaman opens his mouth, it seems that he is lying. This claim of being the victim and constantly being attacked and threatened with lawsuits has caused people to not want to look into Pizzagate, and has caused many commenters to try to warn me about making more videos on Pizzagate. You can see the obvious play here is they are trying to dissuade us from talking about Pizzagate, and by putting the quote-unquote king of Pizzagate up and then having him say he's under attack for doing all these things, it makes it look like it's, not a good idea to put up Pizzagate videos and do Pizzagate research. It would make the average person not want to share this information for fear of repercussions. And in the internet age, lots of people self-censor themselves already, and David Seaman is just feeding into that narrative, which is why he's being exposed, because at this point he is no longer helping spread awareness over Pizzagate. All he's doing is generate self-buzz for himself and making it look like it's a bad idea to research and investigate Pizzagate unless you're him and you have, all types of support from all these people, because he's the king of Pizzagate and he's the only one brave enough to do this. So just go to him for all your information. It's absolute nonsense. And he's not the king of Pizzagate. In fact, the king of that is the open source research community, the vote community. Those are the kings of Pizzagate, not this journalist who just regurgitated actual research by other people. And David Seaman constantly claims of being censored and things of that nature without providing any evidence to prove those claims. And as you can see here, one of my documentaries, a documentary that had more research in it than David Seaman has done in his life, was pulled from the internet for inappropriate content, and there is the proof right there on the screen. I didn't delete this and then re-upload it later to make myself look like a victim, but David Seaman did remove all of his videos himself because he was such a hypocrite in them that it was unbelievable. So whenever the powers that shouldn't be have some sort of issue that they don't want covered in a meaningful way or people to unite over, they put these fake people in the movement in order to cause division so that they can conquer the movement and destroy it from within. This happens all the time. It happened to Occupy Wall Street. It happens so often that we should absolutely know these tactics by now and be able to stop them from happening. So is there any way to suggest that the powers that shouldn't be have some sort of financial connection to David Seaman?
And in my opinion, David Seaman just released this video today where he claims to be against George Soros because so many people have revealed the financial connection between George Soros and David Seaman that I'm about to go over. And of course, he doesn't refute any of those claims about Soros' connection to gold money through his sons. He just tries to put up one single video where he talks a little bit about George Soros in order to divert away from this criticism of him.
So let's cover Bitgold and gold money. When I wrote about gold 2 weeks ago, one of our members asked my opinion as to whether the recent takeover of gold money by a Canadian company, Bitgold, should be a concern to gold money customers. I was on vacation when the acquisition was announced and had missed the news. As a gold money customer myself, and because we had introduced the company to our readers in 2009 as a player in the digital gold niche, I wanted to find out more. First, who is Bitgold? It's a relatively new Canadian company that aspires to create a way to pay for goods and services with gold rather than currency. Imagine a debit card linked to your holdings in a gold storage account rather than your checking account. It has also been suggested it would function something like having a PayPal account. Here's an excerpt from a review I found at Bitcoin Magazine. Founded in 2014, BitGold launched with the mission to make gold payments practical by digitizing them through Bitcoin's payment network. Since then, the startup has received a lot of attention, as well as investment. Now here comes the important part. The gold payment network has raised several $millions from large players in the gold and financial industries, including Alex and Gregory Soros Fund, Soros Brothers Investments, and Eric Sprott's Sprott Incorporated. Now ask yourself why David Seaman has never once mentioned the financial transactions between George Soros and Comet Ping Pong in a single one of his videos he's ever done on the situation. Not one time has he mentioned George Soros' connection to Pizzagate. For some, the mention of the Soros connection, the fund is run by George Soros' sons, is a negative. I don't know if that's merely a reaction to his famously liberal politics or due to some concern that he will somehow profit at the expense of BitGold shareholders. On the other hand, it could be interpreted as a positive because George Soros has proven to be a very savvy global investor over the years. If his family sees promise in this new endeavor, I would assume it has some merit. Either way, at this point, I see no reason to be concerned by the Soros involvement. After all, gold money clients are merely using its gold storage service. We're not becoming shareholders in BitGold. However, at this point, I would like to say that anyone using the service or promoting the service is helping George Soros make money. And that is why David Seaman never says anything negative about Zionism or George Soros. Even though George Soros is one of the most disgusting human beings to ever walk on this planet, the same guy who sold out his own Israeli people for money to the Nazis, that guy, that's the guy that David Seaman works for. So the next time David Seaman wants to claim I'm an anti-Semite, well, guess what, buddy? You're working for George Soros, the biggest anti-Semite to ever live, basically, and a Zionist. And here you go. Here are the financial transactions that David Seaman will never, ever, ever, ever talk about because it connects the people he made a whole bunch of money by supporting, George Soros and Sons, to Comet Ping Pong and Pizzagate. And now you know why David Seaman is leading the divide and conquer tactics, trying to rip this community apart from within. So any people who bring up this eyebrowless, George Soros connected piece of crap in my comment section, you are the problem. You are the people causing the conquer and divide in this community. All of you people that can't see through this kid's bullshit, you are the problem. I'm no longer going to reference him. I'm no longer going to talk about him. At the end of this video, this will be the last time you hear David Seaman's name ever by me. I'm never going to touch this kid again. I'm not going to keep feeding into this controversy that he's creating just to create more buzz for himself. And that's what this is all about. Instead of talking about the powers that shouldn't be and exposing the elite, all of us are now talking about this kid. He has made himself a part of the story once again. And I'm not going to allow him control the agenda by forcing all of us to constantly talk about him. At the end of this video, I'm done with David Seaman forever, except for one possibility that I will leave up for him at the very end of this video. The next David Seaman claim I would like to address is that he is doing all this to sell copies of this book. That's not the criticism we're making, David. You've just changed the subject and not addressed the actual criticism. The criticism is this, is we believe that you are covering all this to self-promote yourself, and your book in the past basically is a working document on exactly what you've been doing and what we've been exposing. You know, your claim that you would protest gravity if it would generate a buzz for yourself is exactly what you're doing. And that's what we're exposing. That's why we show people this book. When you go out and you claim that your friend that you haven't been in touch with for years was killed over Pizzagate, that is a bullshit lie that you use to generate buzz and generate sympathy and profits for yourself and profits for George Soros, as I've already shown, because people went and supported your BitGold crap, which is a George Soros fund. And continuing on, to then claim that a person that you knew, that another YouTuber knew, was killed over Pizzagate when that person told you that their friend wasn't killed over that is absolutely disgusting. It's a blatant lie to generate buzz for yourself, and that is one of the most despicable things I've ever heard of in my entire life. To use someone else's murder to generate money for yourself and to distract people away and scare people away from talking about Pizzagate is an absolute disgrace. So Seaman wants to claim that anyone trying to expose Zionism as one of the major factions of the powers that shouldn't be, not the head of the entire thing. You know, I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, the Zionists run the world. They're just one of the infighting factions that try to control things. Now, as far as David Seaman's concerned, anyone criticizing Zionism, which is a political movement, is a racist anti-Semite, which is one of the most ridiculous claims in the history of the world, as documented by this image here on the screen. And just because we're criticizing Zionism doesn't mean that we are anti-Semitic. That would be the same as when you were criticizing political leaders of America like Barack Obama. That would be like calling you a racist because you criticized a black person. Even though you weren't criticizing them over their race, all you were criticizing is their political policies. So it's the same non sequitur bullshit that people on the right hate when they're called racist for criticizing Obama. Well, criticizing Zionists and then calling us anti-Semite is doing the exact same thing. You people are a bunch of hypocrites. Furthermore, as documented in part 3 of my Pizzagate documentary, which has far more research than David Seaman's ever done in his life, in just one part of my 3-part documentary, I show how the pedo-sadist elite, these absolutely disgusting Illuminati, some of them are Zionists, and the Zionist connections to all of this pedo-sadism has to be exposed. And Russell Burton did a great speech exposing the Zionists in London and their connections to pedo-sadism. And anyone who doesn't believe that Zionism has a connection to pedo-sadism hasn't read the Talmud. And I'm not going to sit here and say that, oh, all Jews are pedo-sadists. That's not what we're saying. That's not what we're saying at all. And if you need a refresher on that, go back to the last image and these things I just said. What we are criticizing here are the leaders of Zionism, the political leaders and the actions that they take. This has nothing to do with their religion. Nothing. Well, it does because their religion is Satanism, and that's what we're exposing. So if you have a problem with me exposing Satanism, then I guess you can call me an anti-Semite racist, which is absolutely nothing to do with what I'm talking about here, and nothing to do with what Russell Burton's talking about in the speech I'm going to play for you again, because obviously not enough of you saw this. And anyone claiming that I'm not telling the truth about all this stuff, why has David Seaman never exposed any of the Zionist connections to pedo-sadism? Oh yeah, that's right, because he works for George Soros, likely.
Hiya guys.
How are you, Russell?
Sorry, nervous, but I'll get through this.
Yeah, you will.
I said if you want to change something, you start with yourself. For years my soul has been screaming at me, do something, say something, just make this stop. I stood here last week with 250,000 good people. It was an amazing day of unity and a beautiful atmosphere. I remember being saddened and essentially thinking this was about money. Even though I understood the ramifications and the political and the social policy of austerity, it was still about money. If only the people had a bit more money in their pocket, most would be happy to go along with the political narrative. I remember thinking, what a different day Westminster would look today if those 250,000 were here right now, supporting the campaign to end the rape and the sexual brutality of children. Today I stand, and I stand with honour, and I stand with pride, but my heart is broken. We stand battered, we stand bruised. We've had the kitchen sink thrown at us online, but we stand. We've cried 1,000 tears, we've opened 1,000,000 minds. This is it, people. The line is in the sand. Defend this we wake a million more minds. Defend this, we earn the right to our freedoms. The world is watching, and we're watching you, Westminster.
Yeah.
25 years I've been on the campaign trail of injustice, corruption and child abuse, and many other causes. In that time, the one contributing factor comes up: control. Some of you may know I made a film last year called Savile and the Ninth Circle. I wanted to try and portray a behind-the-scenes look at institutional pedophilia. It seems since the cradle of civilization, child abuse has been on the map. It's been a system of control by the most powerful of powerful. From the pharaohs to the royals to the Bushes, the Clintons, the Blairs, and you, Mr. Cameron. I believe paedophilia is a trickle-down effect into society from a control system stemming over thousands of years, enforced by bodies such as the Secret Service, MI5, MI6, Tavistock, and many more, using techniques as applied pressure programming. Let me draw you a picture of applied pressure programming, and I'll try to quantize that into you in a week. You're in a cell, the door opens, a torturer walks in. The best you can hope for is death. The next day, he walks in and tortures you again. And on the third day, he repeats the process. On the fourth day, the door opens, the torturer walks in. But something's different this time. This time, he rapes and brutalizes you sexually. The fifth, the sixth day, it's back to the horrifying torture. The seventh, more rape, more sexual brutality. 5 days of torture, 2 days of rape. Continue with this process and the trauma will force the human mind into its prime directive: survival. It's not long before the knock comes at the door and you pray to God, please, please do not be the torturer. Welcome to your new psychopathic shillophile. Welcome to your new minister. Welcome to your new TV star, pop star, sports star. Welcome to your new head of social services. Welcome to your new police commissioner. The effects of supply and demand on these monsters ends up bedding into our TV, music and sport. Not to mention the social structure of councils, schools, hospitals, children's social care and the church. All of them selling you a false narrative. All of them rebranding paedophilia as normal. Mr. Cameron, I stand here before you today. Even though I'm repulsed at the man you have become, I understand that the system failed you too. I can only imagine the horrors you must have gone through as a child. But I'm here to talk, not to talk about your childhood. I'm here to talk about the tens of thousands of children being abused, raped, murdered and trafficked in Great Britain PLC. I'm here to talk about the evil known as forced adoption. I'm here to talk about Rotherham 1400, Nottinghamshire care homes, Halifax grooming gangs, Sheffield, Leeds, Liverpool. Tell me about Circle and the trafficking of refugee children. Tell me about the man known as Jimmy Savile, questioned 7 times without charge, but yet invited to Balmoral on more than 20 occasions. Birthdays and Christmas with the Royals. Where were MR5? I forgot. Those guys were too busy asphyxiating themselves, locked in a suitcase with a cattle prod up their ass. Tell me about Ken Clark. Tell me about Ben Fellows, London Weekend Television and your involvement in that. Tell me about Margaret Thatcher covering up for paedophilia, Cyril Smith and a well-known paedophile known to the police. Tell me about Leon Britton and the snuff movies. Tell me about Lord Janner, accused in Parliament of being a serial abuser who attacked children inside Westminster. 14 indecent assaults on a male under 16 between 1969 and 1988. 2 incidents of indecency between 1984 and 1988. 4 accounts of buggery of a male between 16 years of age in 1972 and 1988. Tell me about Edward Heath, the child killer and serial pedophile. Tell me about Patrick Rock, Patrick Rock, David Cameron's online porno filter, charged with 3 accounts of making indecent photographs of children and in possession of 59 indecent images. They've also known each other 20 years. Tell me about Doug Richard, Dragon's Den star, another multi-million advisor to Prime Minister David Cameron, arrested on suspicion of raping a 13-year-old girl. Tell me about Elm Guest House and the role of secret services other than masturbating outside the window. Tell me about Hope de la Garenne and Jersey. Tell me about the hundreds of care homes closed, records sealed for 75 years or more. Let's talk about Holly Gregg and Robert Greene. Let's talk about Melanie Shaw and Sodexo. Let's talk about Mickey Summers and Nottinghamshire Council Beechwood. Let's talk about Prince Philip, Epstein and the House of fucking Bang Bang. Let's tell me about Harriet Harman and paedophile exchanging. Tell me about the BBC. Tell me about Dolphin Square. Tell me about David Blair. You may know him as Miranda. Charged, fined at Bow Street Magistrate Courts for soliciting outside toilet. Tell me about Max Clifford and Stringfellas. Tell me about Cliff Richard. OBE, summer holiday. More like I'm leaving on a jet plane and I don't know when I'll be back again. Let's talk about Rolf Harris. Let's talk about Savile OBE. Let's talk about Stuart Hall OBE. Mr. Cameron, let's talk. In the words of Johnny Rotten, have you ever felt cheated? Thank you.
So not only is pedosadism popular among the Hollywood elite, the political elite of the West, it is also popular with the Zionists, okay? And to not expose that is to create what's called a limited hangout and not telling people the truth, and I will not allow that. And I had promised to put aside my differences to raise awareness over Pizzagate, but David Seaman just couldn't let that go. He had to keep the controversy going, to keep generating buzz for himself, to keep people talking about him. People like me making videos like this, wasting my time on exposing some peon, David Seaman, instead of exposing the powers that shouldn't be. And I don't give a flying F what any of you people think in the comment section or how many of you trolls come to my channel and downvote this video. This video is staying up. My criticisms of him are valid. I didn't use anything of his in this video, so he has absolutely no way to try to copyright claim and take this down. Another thing I'd like to note is how many of you people on Twitter and other ways have shared the work I've done on Pizzagate with InfoWars. And you know how many times InfoWars has contacted me back? None. Not a single time. Why is that? Is because InfoWars is the new mainstream media. They claim it themselves all the time. And individuals like this David Seaman, of course, have been on InfoWars because it's the new Jonestown, it's leading people astray, they will report anything to get clicks and views, except for the truth, the real truths about things, like how the Zionists are actually connected to it, and it's not just the Vatican, how there's different infighting factions. But, you know, that type of truth is too in-depth for a place like InfoWars, so don't expect to be getting fed that in your Kool-Aid from Jonestown. But you will get people like this David Seaman character propped up, just so that he can be used later to cause conquer and divide tactics within a truther movement like this Pizzagate community, where he has now been labeled as the king of Pizzagate, even though he is no such thing at all. And to all those people like, oh, well, he has more subscribers and he gets more views than you. What does it matter if he's not exposing the real truth? It doesn't. I don't care how many views or how many people he brought awareness to this, because he's now misleading people and dissuading people from spreading more awareness over Pizzagate. So all those claims about all the crap that he did for this community, you guys can take those claims and shove it up your ass. As soon as he started censoring information off the internet, you should have been speaking out against him, but you haven't, because you're all a bunch of Kool-Aid drinking morons. David Seaman, the same guy that promotes the Mandela effect, has got all of you people that still support him living in an alternate reality. Maybe that is the proof that this complete garbage conspiracy theory, the Mandela effect, for which there is absolutely zero proof of that, other than people have crap memories, maybe it's actually true. Maybe in some weird alternate universe, David Seaman isn't a shill. He doesn't have financial connections to George Soros. Maybe he actually does still have eyebrows. I mean, seriously, maybe that is the explanation for why he has no eyebrows. In the other Mandela universe, he still does have them, and we're just in this alternate reality where this kid is actually just a total shill, lying piece of crap. Maybe in some weird other alternate reality, he's the opposite of all those things. And maybe that's the reality that some of you commentators and people downvoting my videos exposing this absolute douchebag are living in, because there's absolutely no way in this reality you should still be supporting this piece of crap.
I would like to say that I'm going to completely ignore David Seaman from now on. Not going to respond to a single comment about him. I'm not going to watch a single one of his videos. I'm not going to respond to anyone who brings him up. If you bring him up and you harass the crap out of my channel, you're going to get blocked, because I'm sick of it. You people clearly are not arguing via the trivium, and therefore you're not worth listening to at this point. You're just trolls for this kid, and I'm not going to have it. I'm done with it. And David Seaman, I'm done with you. The only way you will ever get to hear anything out of my mouth again, ever get a single view out of me again, anything, is I will leave it up to you for one thing. I will challenge you to a charity boxing match where you get to wear Israeli boxing gloves and I'm going to rock some Palestinian gloves, and we're going to go at it for 12 rounds to raise money for the Pizzagate March. If you accept that challenge before the Pizzagate March, I will fly out to wherever the fuck you are, beat the living shit out of you, and then post it live all over the internet for all the people you've pissed off, because you fucking deserve it, buddy. Alright? And if I ever see you in person, I'm going to confront you. Not physically, verbally, going to destroy you. The only way I'll physically confront you is in a charity boxing match in order to raise money, because it's going to be a beatdown, and I don't want to get put in jail for beating the fuck out of someone. So that's where I'm going to leave it. David Seaman, you are a little fucking bitch. Uses censorship because you can't handle criticism. And no one should watch his crap. Everyone should boycott David Seaman because he's a lying, sensationalistic bullshit artist, a little fucking weasel who likes to call people anti-Semites and racists because he can't handle criticism. And that's the end of it. The only way you'll ever see me again or hear another word out of me is with a pair of gloves on while I beat the fuck out of you. Other than that, I'm done with you. I'm reburying you in the grave I already put you in, never unsealing it again. And I'm going to hope that ignoring you and everyone else ignoring you kills you.
You got knocked the fuck out, man!
This is Titus Frost, spitting truth, causing glitches in the Matrix.
But I murder the mainstream. Murder the mainstream. I ain't a killer, but I murder the mainstream.